Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And I have a special guest with me right here on the State of the Saints podcast. I have New Orleans Saints reporter and the organizer of New orleans.football website, Mr. Nick Underhill. How you doing, Nick?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Just trying to stay alive out here, and thanks for having me.
All right, man. Thank you for being a part of the podcast. We really do appreciate it. Me and the Who Dat Nation, I've been talking about this all week, so I'm really looking forward to talking to you about the New Orleans Saints. First question I wanted to ask you about is the reports that came out a couple days ago. Week 1, Saints versus Tampa. No New Orleans Saints fans are going to be in the Superdome for Week 1 in a classic matchup, which a lot of people were waiting for. Drew Brees versus Tom Brady, 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. I want to know what your thoughts about having no fans inside of the Superdome Week 1 and how it would affect the defense and the team as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it kind of sucks that there's going to be no one in there. It's going to be weird. The home field advantage is a huge thing for this team. And then, just being there, not having the fans there, I can't even imagine what that's going to feel like because, just even as a reporter, you're kind of indifferent to everything. Like, it's a special place to be when the fans get going. And there's really no other stadium like it in the NFL. At least as far as the ones that I've been to, Seattle's maybe comparable. Kansas City, but like the Superdome is it's different. And the way people relate to the team is different. And you feel that just the passion and everything. So I do think that it's going to have some effect on the game. I mean, there's a definite home field advantage there. I'm curious, the thing I'm kind of looking at, just not even just at the Superdome, but league wide, is just like, how does it affect field goal kicking? Because I think if you take some of that pressure out, you're going to see some of those averages go up. And that's one of the advantages that, Will Lutz has over everybody else is that he's kind of, he's one of the few steady guys. Him, Justin Tucker, the Kansas City kicker. They're like the 3 guys that are like automatic now. I wonder if that's going to affect everybody. And yeah, the defense. One thing I think it might actually help defenses in a weird way because I think that your safeties now can communicate to your defensive linemen if it's a little bit quieter. Now, I don't know if they're going to pump in crowd noise, but I think that you might be able to see a little bit more complex defense because you just can't talk like that when it's that loud. So that's one like, I think there's going to be a lot of like weird little hidden things that show up throughout the year. And I don't know what they're going to be. I don't know if anybody knows what they're going to be, but some things are going to change. And it's just like a matter of what it'll be and where it shows up.
Yeah. I'm looking at it like it's going to be very, very funny, but I do feel like this year is going to be the year where if a person or a team end up going to the Super Bowl, it's going to be the year that they actually earn it. Because you got to think about all of the games, you have home games, you have away games, and sometimes the crowd plays a huge role in a game, rather it be, a defensive stop or offense, a touchdown or something like that. But no crowd at all. I mean, it's about discipline. It's about communication. And I feel like the best team is going to end up winning in the end if things stay the way that it is. I mean, because it's about discipline at the end of the day.
Even beyond that, though, too, it's just like keeping your guys healthy and on the field and staying away from the virus. Like, you're going to have to earn it in like a ton of different ways. And people are like, hey, like if the team wins it, should there be an asterisk? They're talking about it with the NBA, too. No, like this is going to be the hardest season probably ever in a lot of weird ways. So, yeah, okay, like let's say like Arizona goes and steals the Super Bowl, but like if they do that because their team stayed healthy and everybody else didn't, they earned it. Like it's not an asterisk season. Like they did things other people couldn't do. So the discipline aspect is just it's tremendous. Like it's a hard year, and I do think that Sean Payton's the right guy to lead a team through this. I think he's going to get his team to buy in. I think we see him in the hotel. He's going to find other ways to create advantages, and in a situation like this, he's the guy that I would want leading my team. And we'll see if he can keep everything away. But they're at 0 tests right now. They had 2 false positives, and like this thing hasn't showed up. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Hopefully, everything turns out the right way, and nobody has like any issues or anything like that. And like you said, it's about discipline. Like I was looking at an article. I think a Seattle Seahawks player end up getting cut because he tried to sneak a female into the hotel. So I'm like, it's about discipline. I mean, the fact is, I understand that you want to go out. I mean, these guys, they're young, they want to go out here and take advantage of some of these opportunities. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to do what's right for your team, and that's not being selfish by doing things like that. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about training camp. Training camp has taken off, and there's a lot of intriguing storylines. One in particular to me is the development of Marcus Davenport. Marcus Davenport, I've been getting questions from the Who Dat Nation about, is he legit? Is he not legit? Is he a bust? We're really having these type of conversations. So I want to know, what do you think about Marcus Davenport, and do you feel like the Saints made the right decision by drafting him?
Well, let me get your take first, and then I'll follow up.
Okay. Well, this is the way I feel about it. I feel like Marcus Davenport is really, really good. I see a lot of great things in him. For example, when they played against the Washington Redskins, when Drew Brees, had the record he broke, when he threw the ball to Traquan. If you look at that game, he was dominating the offensive line of the Redskins. And I think about back in 2018 when they played against Kirk Cousins in week 8. He was dominating that game as well. So he does flash across the field. But there are some times where I feel like he doesn't show up. But I'm not ready to give up on him right now. I think that he has a lot of talent. And, I see a lot of what people would see in someone like Jadeveon Clowney, or even like if he taps into that talent that he have, I can see the next Michael Strahan, in my opinion. That's what he reminds me of.
I'm kind of at the same place with you on it. I think he had a pretty good season last year, 6 sacks in 13 games. That's not bad at all. He did accumulate a lot in specific games. So there are games where he dominated, and there were some where I agree with you that I think that he was a little bit more silent than you'd like. But I think he, like you said, I think he has freakish athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had the same thought on Clowney too. I think if they were on the same team and just played in the same exact circumstances, I'm not confident that Clowney will put up better numbers than Davenport. Mm-hmm. And I do think that he's going to keep getting better this year. I think this offseason, him being hurt was kind of maybe possibly a benefit for him because he couldn't go out and do a whole lot of physical stuff. So it was kind of just like strength training in classroom. Right. And I think the thing for him is just getting the mental there with the physical. Like his physical ability it's just out of this world. He does stuff that other people can't do. And I think last year you saw, if you watch week 1 in his last game, you start to see him stacking pass rush moves and having a better plan. And I think just, being there, being in front of a screen, studying it, working on Zoom with the defensive line coach, Ryan Nielsen, he did a lot of that. Mm-hmm. I think just putting all that stuff together, coming out, going on the field, I think we're going to see a really good player. I could see him easily, if he stays healthy 16 games, I could see 10 sacks for him. He's not that far off now.
Right.
Now, the value of the picks, I think that's going to be a debate that people have forever. But, if you are a team drafting 22, 23, 24, or, 31, 32, if you go as far as you want to go, where are you ever getting that pass rusher from? These guys don't hit the open market. Right. You could have traded for Clowney, overpaid him at some point, but maybe not. Mm-hmm. He's really the only guy that's been out there since they got Davenport. So I just don't see where that answer would have came from. And it's just that positional value. If they hadn't picked where they were to get Lattimore, you never get a cornerback. Yep. You never get a pass rusher. The guy you're getting at 22, 23, 24 is comparatively speaking, like a third round wide receiver, just because people value those spots so much. Right. So they had to do it. I think we're seeing it come together as it goes. Is it ever 2 firsts? Worth it? I don't know. But at this point, I kind of just push that in the back, and it's the price has been paid. Let's see what he does. And I think he is developing in the right way. And I do really expect a good season from him if healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick, I think he's a really good run stopper. I think he does really good when it comes to stopping the run. I think that the pass rush ability is going to come. And, what I really don't understand, Nick, is, we celebrate a player like Cam Jordan, but we don't remember when he was a rookie, he didn't have a sack at all. 0 sacks in his rookie season. You can arguably say that Marcus Davenport in the last 2 seasons was more productive than Cam Jordan was in his first 2 seasons. So I just think that sometimes, the Who Dat Nation, we can get a little impatient sometimes, and we expect guys to just automatically come out and be Aaron Donald or J.J. Watt, And also we were talking about Jadeveon Clowney, which I didn't understand, and which I don't understand is, how can we go so wild and crazy about a guy who never had double-digit sacks, and you were playing opposite of arguably the best defensive end in football over the past decade, and you still couldn't get 10 double-digit sacks. So that's the way I feel about it. So I feel like we need to have patience when it comes to Davenport in that regard. I also want to talk to you about Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams, he had an interview with you all a couple of days ago, and he talked a little bit about his contract and also some of the things that he did in the offseason. One thing that he said he worked on was his ability to tackle. That has been a little bit of an issue, and he even had to say it himself. I want to know what do you think about Marcus Williams as a safety, and do you feel like the New Orleans Saints are going to give him an extension on his contract?
The extension is tough. I mean, it's so hard to place a value on him because his coverage and instincts, I mean, they're crazy. Like, he's as good as anyone at seeing a play. His range is as good as anyone at making a play. I think at times he puts himself in position to make plays that he has no business getting to. Like the play against San Francisco where he fell down going to Emmanuel Sanders on that deep ball. Like, they're in a 2-safety shell. He's on the other side of the field.
Right.
He sees it and he gets to there and he's in position to make a play. So he's got to make the play. You can't miss that tackle. But no other safety is seeing that play and getting there in time. Like, he had no business being there. So It's like he does things to make plays that, regular safeties can't. Right. Then he doesn't finish them. And I don't know, man, if you're on a good tackler, like all that range in the world, like it takes away from some of it. If you can't trust that guy, it makes it hard to pay him. On the other hand, like, it's just like, okay, you just got to fix this one little thing, which isn't a little thing, but it should be fixable. I don't know. He's a perplexing guy to kind of value to watch. The tackling stuff, it's crazy to me. Like, you're year 3 and you said you let off it a little bit. And I don't think you were a good enough tackler to begin with to let off on it. So you shouldn't have been taking that easy. On the other hand, him admitting it and like saying it and being out there and like, putting it down, like, you need to do that to get better. Like, you got to admit it to move forward. So I don't know, man, the contract on him, I think out of all these guys, like, that's the hardest decision to make because he's so good, but like, it's hard to trust him.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those guys, and I'm pretty sure you probably get this quite a bit. You really find yourself having 20, 30-minute debates about how good this guy is on social media. I mean, I like him a lot. I mean, I've seen my fair share of Saints safeties. I mean, I've been a Saints fan my whole life, born and raised in New Orleans. And I mean, he is really good. I mean, analytics tell you that. Pro Football Focus tell you like one of the top safeties in the league. But the thing about it is the way I feel about it is he can play well the entire game. But when it matters most, the plays that stand out, like you think about against San Francisco, since you mentioned that, the play against George Kittle, like, I mean, as well, like he, as solid as he can be, that's the last play that you remember about him. I mean, in the game, the Minneapolis Miracle, he was the one that caught the interception in order for the Saints to go up in the game. So, I mean, but you missed the tackle on Stephon Diggs. I mean, it's so wild. He's a really good safety, but he gives up some of those plays and it just completely negates everything that he does as a player. And I don't know, I'm with you. I feel like I don't know if they're going to pay him, or not. This is going to be like a really tough decision for the New Orleans Saints. But I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the rookies that we have. The Saints, they have Cesar Ruiz, they got Zach Bond, Adam Troutman. I mean, these are guys that the Saints feel like are going to be contributors right away. First, I want to start with Cesar Ruiz. Do you think that Cesar Ruiz is going to play his primary position, which is center, his rookie season, or do you feel like the Saints are going to move him to the guard position just for 1 year?
Yeah, that's going to be tough. I know they want him at center, and I know they think that he's potentially smart enough to get out there and do it. They just started getting on the field this week, so, I mean, it's a long way to go. But Max Unger talked about it. He was 8 years in the league, and he comes to the Saints, and he said hearing Breeze make these long play calls in the huddle was challenging for him, and it took him quite a while into the season to get comfortable with it. And it was the same thing last year with Eric McCoy. There were times in camp he'd be snapping the ball and Troutman would already be 2 yards down the field. And, it's just like getting that cadence going with Drew, it takes a while to get. And then even into the season, Dan Rochar said that, he was still making mistakes. So it's going to be tough without the OTAs and that. But look, by the time that they get into a game and they start playing, he's going to have heard Drew, do the cadence 1,000 times. So maybe that's enough. But even if it isn't, you could possibly start McCoy at center, play him at guard, and then week 4, if he's ready and he's picking it up, you can try it again. Or maybe, like you said, you wait until next season and just kind of roll with what you got. But getting McCoy at guard, I think, would be like a huge advantage. 4.89, 40 speed. Now, I know most of the time a offensive lineman isn't going to run 40 yards down the field, but he might on a screenplay. So if you get him out there leading the way, and they do a lot of outside zone runs, so that range plays a factor there too. So he's potentially one of the more athletic guards in the league, and you're going to get a lot more out of him at that position than center. But you got to have the snap down and everything. So it's going to be a challenge. But everybody talks about how smart this guy is. So maybe he can beat that curve quick enough.
Yeah, I think that he is going to be a very solid center. But I don't know, like no OTAs and no mini camp. I mean, I feel like if I were the Saints, I would try to put Eric McCoy and keep him at that position, because I mean he does have 1 year under his belt, and maybe have Caesar at the guard position. I just feel like it's like you said. I mean, I've heard you're like the third person that I've interviewed that said this. The other reporters that were out there at training camp said the same exact thing about Eric McCoy and with the snap count. But I mean, so I know it's going to be tough for Caesar. I mean, but I feel like he has all the tools to really be good. I want to move on to Adam Troutman, the tight end out of Dayton. Jared Cook talked about him in an interview, talked about how he feels he's doing a good job. But there was one thing that I noticed that he said. He said that Adam Troutman was running with the ones. So my question is to you, is Adam Troutman running with the ones? Any indication that the Saints may move on from Josh Hill?
I don't think they'll get rid of Josh Hill this quick, just because I don't think either one of those guys have enough blocking ability yet. Mm-hmm. The thing is, you watch Troutman's college tape, and like he is super willing to block. He's in the mix. He's, and I think that's the main thing. Like you saw Jimmy Graham, like he wasn't an eager blocker. No. The problem with Troutman is he doesn't have the technique yet or the know-how. So I think it's going to take a little while to do that. Mm-hmm. And you're going from Dayton to like potentially chipping like JJ Watt. You know what I mean? Like that's quite a difference in talent and guys that you got to block. So he would need to show the ability to do that. So I don't know. I mean, like Josh Hill is one of those guys that like Sean loves too. And this is like a weird thing, but you really kind of got to consider that. Like Bryce Harris stuck around forever because of it. Right. He liked Cadet forever. Tommy Lee Lewis got 100 chances. Josh Hill is one of those guys that he really likes. Yeah. And he does contribute, and he does a lot of things on special teams. And a year where you're going to need a lot of depth, like you got to plan for the coronavirus and all that. I don't think this is like Nick Easton's another guy that I think in a normal year, it's like, do you really need him? Like you could save $3.8 million by cutting them, but in the coronavirus year where you need depth, like I think that changes the way we're having all these conversations. And if you can keep a guy and then, stash somebody somewhere else or whatever, I think you have to factor that into the equation. Like it's just not like a normal, like beat out year. It's like, you got to build the deepest team possible. You got to think about hiding your rookies on the practice, not Troutman, but like a UDFA, like you aren't going to move them up just to have them. Like you might hide them on the practice squad until you need them. And it's just going to be a very weird year with the way roster building goes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with the Josh Hill analysis. Sean Payton has a lot of respect for him. You can tell. I think in a press conference in the NFC Championship game, he talked about Josh Hill, and I think Josh Hill left the game with a concussion. And he talked about how many plays he had to eliminate because Josh Hill wasn't in the game. So I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about what Sean Payton thinks about Josh Hill. I know Drew Brees loves him, and I know the team does as well. Another rookie that is standing out and is making waves is Marquez Callaway. This is a guy who came out of Tennessee, guy that has a lot of confidence in himself. Me personally, I feel like nobody really was talking about him because University of Tennessee hasn't had a really good quarterback since T. Martin back in '98. So it's been a while since we seen some production at the quarterback position at the University of Tennessee. But he is with the Saints now. And my question is to you is, do you see him possibly making the starting rotation?
I think he's going to make a push maybe for a spot. Like I do think that there's some possibility there a little bit deeper down the depth chart. The one guy that I think kind of messes things up a little bit for the UDFAs or Lil Jordan Humphrey or Emmanuel Butler or everybody else, like bringing Benny Fowler in, and he was like a Drew Brees like hand-picked guy. Like he worked out with him in Denver, and then Drew basically said, "Hey, I like this guy. Bring him into camp." Like if you got chemistry with the QB and the QB wants you there, that's like half the battle. You're going to get some throws in camp, and you're going to stand out, and that chemistry is already there. But Callaway did make a lot of big plays in college without a great quarterback. I like a lot of the stuff he can do. You know, Lil Jordan Humphrey, they like him a lot, obviously. I think Butler's somebody they still like a whole lot. Jawan Johnson, the Oregon guy, he's not a great receiver, but he's a good blocker. They don't have that like standout blocking wide receiver now after getting rid of Hogan. So he might have a way to get on the team through that too. So I think they've done a really good job of building depth there. Just, you know, there's a lot of options as you go down the depth chart. The other thing that's interesting too is outside of like Emmanuel Sanders and obviously Deontay Harris, like all these guys they've brought in the last 2 years are like 6'2", 230 pounds. Like they're really big dudes. So like they're after a certain type of receiver. And, you know, I think that there's probably a spot for at least one of them on the 53. And, you know, I'm like you, I like Callaway. I like a lot of the stuff he's done. You know, you watch him, you see the big playability. So when we get out there finally on Monday to see these guys, you know, he's going to be someone I'm looking at early. And, you know, I do think, you know, if I earmarked it, he was the guy that I kind of had on like my dark horse radar to make a push for the team.
Yeah, I think if I can put my finger on what's going on as far as them getting a certain type of receiver, I think it has a lot to do with Drew Brees and you know, the passes that he throw. I mean, we know. I mean, it's pretty much evident now. You know, Drew Brees doesn't have the same arm strength he had when he was in his youth. You know, but when he was earlier in his Saints career. So I do feel like the Saints try to get those bigger targets to me because of the catch radius. I mean, you look at somebody like Michael Thomas. I mean, unlimited catch radius. You look at somebody like Brandon Coleman, who they kept around for a long time. I just feel like they like those type of guys because, I mean, it helps out Drew Brees, especially when it comes to like short yardage situations. They can actually win those matchups. I mean, that's what I think about that. But let's talk a little bit about the running backs. Alvin Kamara came out and said that he was dealing with injuries throughout most of the season. He said he played about 73%. They had articles coming out talking about him having a torn MCL. He played most of the season with that, which is unbelievable that he decided to do that, especially going into a contract year. My question is to you is how do you see Alvin Kamara's 2020 campaign going? And do you see the New Orleans Saints committing more to the running game as they have in the past?
Man, the crazy thing about his season, you watch the first 5 games, he forced 38 missed tackles in 5 games. That's like 7 a game, 100 in the season, like more than 100 in the season, which is just, it's otherworldly. Like nobody else is doing that. And I'm not going to like say he's the best running back in the NFL, like Christian McCaffrey, Zeke, like they're putting up better numbers. They're healthy. They're out there. They're doing more. I think there's like a serious argument that Alvin's potentially the most talented running back in the NFL, but we just haven't seen it for 16 games. If he can stay healthy for the whole season, like I seriously think he could easily have like a 2,000 yard from scrimmage year. Like I don't think it's that crazy. Through those first 5 games, he was on pace, I think, for 1963 or 1900 and some yards. So he was knocking on that door right there. And then he gets hurt. He has the knee injury. He has an ankle injury. He had a back injury too. And he still finished with 4.7 yards per carry through the year. McCaffrey was at 4.8. So, I mean, it's not like, you know, it's there. He just needs to be healthy. He needs to be able to handle the carries. And if he's that dynamic, you know, I don't know about the commitment more to the running game. I think he'd probably take a bigger piece of the puzzle than Latavius Murray. The one thing I keep going back to is when I've been thinking about like how the distribution is going to go all year. You brought all these mouths to the table. You spent on Emmanuel Sanders. You paid for Jared Cook. Like, you know, you got to feed them all. So like they're going to be throwing the ball. Like maybe the screen game becomes, you know, heavier, which is an extension of the running game. Like Alvin's going to get his yards and his targets and all that stuff if he's healthy. But I mean, they'll always try to be balanced, but I don't know if it's like going to shift more to the running game than it has in the past. Like, I mean, I just keep thinking like they got to throw the ball to all, like you don't spend all this money on all these guys on offense and like pack it in and hand it off. Like,
right.
So I actually think Drew's pass attempts are going to go up a little bit this year.
Right.
Maybe that's a crazy thought, but like, I don't think it's going to be 2015, but like, just a little bit higher. And I think everybody's going to eat somehow.
I mean, but I got to put you on the spot here, Nick. But do you feel like they need to commit more to the run? I mean, you think about back in 2015. I use this example quite a bit with Peyton Manning. I mean, him being at the twilight of his career. The Denver Broncos went out and they got running backs and they beefed up the offensive line in order for them to run the football, to help out Peyton Manning, and also they beefed up the defense. So do you feel like it's a smart decision for the New Orleans Saints to commit to the passing game and use all of these guys throwing the ball all over the field and not having more of a balanced attack with Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara? Do you think that they still could possibly make a Super Bowl run if they commit more to the pass this season?
I just think that's kind of a rigid way to look at it a little bit. Like, what's the difference between like a 3 yards through the air target to Mike on a slant? Like all these short passes are almost extensions of the running game. They're so efficient that you're basically keeping the clock running either way. You're getting your yardage. It's not like a high risk play. Like if Mike's catching 86% of his targets on slants, like you can throw a slant and it's basically a running play. Like in the sense that you're going to get your 4, 5, 6 yards, keep the clock moving, move the chains, and it's just kind of grinding it out like that. So I don't know if it's like, I just don't look at it as like a straight handoff. Like it's kind of like, it is. It's basically, I see the short game over the middle in the running game almost in the same vein, and they're going to control the clock that way. And I think if you do that, their ball control, they were ball control last year, even if like the running plays aren't where everybody wants them to be. It's just they aren't taking these shots down the field. There aren't like these 2-minute drives with the 60-yard passing play. It's just like they're meticulously going down the field no matter what. And I do think they're going to spread it out a little bit more with I think Sanders being here tells you a story that there's going to be a little bit more aggression in some ways. But like, Drew can talk about throwing 45-yard post routes. I don't think we're going to see one in a game. Like, I just don't think this is going to happen. Right. Maybe there is a little bit more arm strength there, but like that those days are gone. They don't need to do that. So, I mean, I just think everybody's going to like, if you aren't getting Mike his targets, you aren't getting Sanders his targets, you aren't getting Cook his targets. Like, why are you spending this money? If Mike's not making plays, he's not going to be happy. Sanders will probably be okay. But I mean, I don't see it like a huge shift in philosophy coming this year.
Okay. Well, I hope. I'm just saying, I hope that they actually commit to the run a little bit.
I know you guys love the running game, man. The Saints fans love the running game.
Yeah, I mean, running the football, I feel like is important. And I get what you're saying about 3-yard catches and stuff like that. But what happens when a pass is incomplete and you get 3 and outs? Like what happens then? I mean, the clock still isn't moving, in my opinion. I feel like it's still. I mean, if you're dropping the ball is falling on the ground. I mean, things happen. I mean, you're allowing the team. Your opponent to get back into the game, especially if you got 2 and 3 touchdown leads. I just feel like you're giving them more opportunities to do so.
Well, a lot of those slants to Mike, like you'll see it, he's the only one running her out. Like Drew counts the box and he'll throw it to Mike if it's a loaded box. So I mean, it's like it's a package play. So like there is like an idea like, hey, we're gonna run it here, but if there's 8 guys in the box, like you aren't just gonna run into a wall. You're gonna try to hit the slant and get your yards that way. So I mean, it's not. It is, to me, it is like almost the same exact thing as running the ball. Like, especially there, a slant to Mike is like damn near 100% play. Like, you're going to get yards and run the clock.
Right. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, we've seen this before, especially like when Andy Reid was out in Philadelphia. You've seen that a lot with McNabb throwing it to Westbrook and stuff like that. I mean, we've seen this before, but I need to see the running game. But I want to say, I got to ask you about this. A story that actually made TMZ a couple of days ago. Sean Payton. Sean Payton giving some instructions on what to do when mustard is on your shirt. So I want to know, like, what exactly happened? And, I mean, what was the story behind it? Like, I mean, was it like a muted mic or what happened with it?
Yeah, somebody thought they were muted and they weren't. And they were asking, it was a TV guy who was asking somebody in the room how to get a stain out. He thought he was muted. Sean jumped in and had the advice right away. Look, he's a low key funny guy, man. I think like everybody's seen a lot more of it during, the coronavirus, him getting involved on social media, and he's quick with it. He's got a good sense of humor, and if you're slipping around Sean, he's going to get you. So, I mean, that's kind of what happened there. Look, like, I'm dying to hear the story. I'm sure you saw it. Like, Demario Davis was talking about a rap battle with a rookie. Like, somebody came in on like the rookie talent night, dissed Sean. Sean came back the next day with his own diss track. Yeah. So, I mean, I just think, really the last few years, I think Sean's kind of like lightened up a little bit. Like, there was like a very intense Sean Payton. I think he's lightened up. He's changed his approach a little bit, and he's allowing more of himself to be out there, and his players respond to it. So, I mean, it's all part of the package.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Bush even talked about that. He talked about like the way that Sean Payton is like night and day, like from when he first came back in 2006 and how he is now. But I mean, we enjoy Sean Payton, especially on social media, and we looking forward to him actually, leading the Saints to the Super Bowl, in Tampa. We looking forward to that. And we also appreciate you, Nick, for being a part of the State of the Saints podcast. Before you get up out of here, can you let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, and also about the website?
Yeah, I got my own website, run it myself, orleans.football. Takes a little money to support it, but I feel like it's worth it. I put in a lot of work, do a lot of film study, stuff like that. So we'll be on there. I have practice reports starting Monday every day, assuming I pass my coronavirus test. First one was good, so hopefully we keep going with that. And I'm on Twitter at Nick_Underhill. And man, I appreciate you having me. It's a good conversation anytime you want me. Appreciate you supporting the website. So yeah, anytime you want me, just let me know.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you all check it out, orleans.football, and subscribe to the site. Great articles, great content. I mean, everything you need to know about the New Orleans Saints, and you may be humble, to a point where you don't want to say it, but you are the wave. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see a lot of people using your information out there, or podcasts and different other outlets. So you won't say it, but I will. But thank you very much, Nick, for being a part of the State of the Saints podcast. Nice talking to you. You take care.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. That was